symptoms kind of happen with any type of activity or behavior, then that can become really problematic and even addictive. Now, with screen use in particular, this is also because there's a lot of different activities online that are very similar to this. If you're on social media and you enjoy, seeing all the likes and seeing all the comments, you can get, you can feel like, gosh, I want to get more of those likes. I want to get more time online. And if you spend time away, it is a withdrawal symptom potentially that can happen. There are different types of screen use. All screen use can fall into a few different categories. And the first one is productive. Any type of screen use, we can be online, we can be doing work, our kids can be doing, hopefully their homework, they can be doing positive things online. They can also be on YouTube for it being a positive thing to learn something new, to learn, how to do a project or something. It can also be entertainment. And that's the second category that all of our screen use can fall into. So it can be anything that's fun, anything gaming, anything type of, online activity like watching Netflix or Hulu or a TV show, anything entertaining. That's the reason to go online. That's a big category that also a lot of our time is spent on. Another one is social. So anytime we're going online with the intent to socially interact with others, that's a really big motivator for people to spend online and teenagers as well. And the last one is erotic. If we're going online with the purpose to explore sexual content, that's the last category. Now, within this category, let's look at some of the research specifically around media use and ADHD. There's some interesting content where in the past 40 years, this one research category, this one research was looking at 40 years of media use and gaming and TV use across the gamut. And so they found a few different things. The first thing they found that there is a small statistical relationship between media use and ADHD symptoms. Okay, not a lot, but there's a small relationship. They found that boys are more impacted than girls. They found that violent video games can increase aggression, and it can be associated with attention problems. So they found, though, that violence in video games, this is a big point that a lot of parents can think there's a lot of worry around violent video games causing violence, causing aggression in our teens and in our kids, in our young adults. The research shows that violence in video games can cause aggression or can increase aggression. However, it doesn't increase violence. And the difference there is violence is the actual act of going out and punching someone in the face. That's violence. Aggression is like, I want to punch you in the face, but I'm not going to do it. So that's the difference. And so that's the thing that research has not proven, that playing Grand Theft Auto directly correlates with mass shootings. Okay? And so can be kind of controversial. A lot of times, I'm not sure what's going on with this mic. A lot of times, whenever someone is isolating, whenever someone is very depressed, whenever someone is having homicidal tendencies, a lot of times they are engaged in activities that potentially video games could be one of them. But that doesn't mean that that is the direct connection for someone to hurt someone else. Now, they also found that there's inconsistent findings around fast-paced content and ADHD symptoms, and they found there's no connection between ADHD symptoms within this research. Another type of research was talking specifically about gaming and ADHD, and they found a couple of different interesting things between 4 to 12-year-old, I believe was the study in Montreal, and they found there was a correlation between ADHD severity and excessive gaming. So the more severe ADHD was, the more severe gaming was potentially as well. And they found that extreme ADHD can actually showed a lower addiction scores, and there's a bidirectional relationship, meaning if someone has ADHD, they're more likely to want to game, and if someone's gaming a lot, their ADHD symptoms are exacerbated. Impulse control can be worsened, executive functioning can worsen, things like that. And so that's a pretty interesting finding around that. And they found, again, that males with ADHD are higher risk than girls. So it just shows that there can be a lot of connection and potentially time for abuse or potential abuse or problems around gaming if someone has ADHD. It doesn't mean if someone has ADHD that they're going to abuse games or that it's going to be a problem. It's just they're more at risk. Someone who has high blood pressure, has type 2 diabetes, is going to have a different time and different relationship with food than someone who does not. And so that's kind of a way to look at this type of relationship with games. there are games, all gamers fall into a few different categories. So the first gamer type is the escaper. And so every person who plays the game has a reason to play a game, usually. Either it was with friends or something like that. But a lot of times they fall into three big categories. And the first one is they play to escape, meaning they want to escape into the game. They're motivated by escapism. They enjoy the storyline. They enjoy the characters. They also are impulsive, and they have low self-esteem usually. And the different types of games can be World of Warcraft, Skyrim, Final Fantasy 14 are a few. Now, again, the reason for this person to play is to escape into an immersive world. Harry Potter just came out. There's an immersive world that someone's going to want to jump into. The next gamer type is the achiever. And they are motivated to win and to achieve and to rank up or to improve, to progress in their type of play. They like to compete, they like to progress, they like to improve their skill and find mastery. They are pretty impulsive, as well as having high self-esteem. And if you think about it like this, is every time someone plays a sport, football or basketball, if you're really good at a sport, you're really pretty proud of the fact that you're good at this sport. Well, a lot of these games, like Valorant, League of Legends, Call of Duty, Fortnite, are all competitive-based games, and it's sometimes involving a team, and there's a lot of mastery that could be involved in this type of game. And when you're really good at Valorant, you're really high rank, you feel really good about yourself. You're really proud of being able to be really good. Whenever you play against LeBron James, you're going to probably lose because he's very good. When you play against someone who's really good in this rank of Valorant, let's say, you'll probably lose because they're really good. And so there's a lot of pride in the high self-esteem coming from this type of activity. All right, the next type of gamer is the hardcore gamer, and they're a mix of the two. They're motivated to play and to escape into the world. They're also motivated to achieve and to win and to compete. They are they like to compete and to achieve everything they can to the game. They also are impulsive, and they identify as the gamer. Okay, so this is someone who's like, I'm really proud of gaming. I want to do this long term. This is who I am, and they really are proud of that identity. Now, this is the category where they're most at risk for problematic or disordered gaming. It doesn't mean that they are going to be disordered. It just means that they're more at risk. So disordered gaming is now a category that we can talk about here in a few slides. It is something that can be a real issue. Before we get to that, it's good to know how prevalent gamers are and kind of how often it can be a problem. Around 90% of all gamers, there's about 2.5 billion, 2.6 billion gamers in the world, and 90% of them play in a healthy, recreational way. There's no issues. They play in irregular time. It's not causing any problems for them objectively. Around 10% play, and there's at-risk issues coming up for them. Maybe they're staying up late every now and then. Maybe they're missing a homework assignment every now and then. Maybe there's a fight every now and then with their parents, but not all the time. Problematic is around 5% of all gamers, and it can become more issues around the at-risk category, but there's more issues coming about. And finally, disordered is around 1% of all gamers in the world. So it's a legitimate issue that can be a part of what's going on in someone's life. However, it's really rare for it to be happening to everybody. And so it's really easy for us to catastrophize this and say, oh, everyone's addicted to it. My son or my daughter's addicted to this. They are, but they may not be, and it's just something that we're really worried about. We don't know about it. Gaming disorder is categorized in the ICD-11. The World Health Organization has identified gaming disorder as a diagnosis. The DSM is not there yet. It's the one that we use in diagnosing and psychology. However, it is in the back of the DSM-5, needing further research. So it's going to be probably down the next publication, but not there yet. In the ICD-11, it's made up of a few different things. It's impaired control. They'd rather game than do other activities. And they continue to game even knowing that there are issues. So this is where these are some clear symptoms that we can look at and say, okay, if someone is experiencing this for a long time, for a year's time, then objectively, they have a gaming disorder. It has to impact every area in their life, though. If it's just one thing, if it's like during the spring break, right, they binge their new game. They are playing Harry Potter 8 hours a day. But when Monday comes, when spring break is over, and they're able to put it down and go back to school and truly engage and truly interact with their friends It's not a problem. It's not an addiction. It could be a problem. Binge eating is a problem. Binging is a problem, yes, but it's not an addiction. And so this can be something to look at as, again, the holistic approach of what's this activity doing or not doing for my kiddo. There are some negative effects, negative impacts from problematic and disordered gaming, obviously, and one can be anxiety and depression. A lot of times when someone is engaging in activity that is it's objectively isolating. You can play with people online, but you're physically isolated, and so there can be issues with that. There can be a lot of issues just that can happen from spending a lot of time in this activity. There are some broken relationships. If any parent can attest to this, there can be a lot of problems with the parent-child relationship around gaming and also with adults, with spouses, coworkers, and friends. There's a lot of impulse control issues that can happen. The gaming in particular is you are rewarded for low impulse control. Whenever you see something and you immediately react to it and have high reaction speed, you're rewarded, usually. You're not really rewarded for deep thinking, for critical thinking. Some games have a slow, methodical storyline. Okay, cool, like we can do that. But not a lot of games today. If you play a game like Valorant, which is a very popular competitive game now, it's very, very fast. It's incredibly fast-paced, and so you are rewarded for that fast-paced decision-making. And if you do that enough, then you will probably lower your impulse control down the road. There's a lot of cognitive distortions. One more game or just a little bit longer, Mom, don't worry about it. I won't, I'll finish my homework tomorrow. There's a lot of these cognitive distortions that can happen. And finally, there's a financial strain that can happen. A lot of games are free to play. Some games you have to buy to be able to talk about Harry Potter a lot. You have to buy Harry Potter, but a lot of games are free to play. Some games that are free to play are called loot boxes. Has anyone seen a loot box before? Yes, no, some? Okay. So basically, this is a way to enjoy or enhance your gameplay in a game called Counter-Strike Go. Now, Counter-Strike Go is a 5 versus 5 competitive game where you have a weapon, you're walking around and trying to eliminate the enemy team before you are eliminated. You see your weapon in front of you. And so you see that the weapon could have a design of a dragon, could have like a water thing on it. The color or what the gun looks like is a skin. It's just an item, okay? And so if you can see, this laser pointer doesn't really work, but you can see below that box are different colors of the weapon. And so those are skins. And so you can acquire a skin by opening it up with a key. When you open it up, it looks like this. You're able to see all the screen or all the guns kind of scroll across and say, okay, I want to get the cool one. Okay, cool. That's a pretty cool one. Sweet. Now I can play with that in the game. It doesn't change your accuracy, doesn't change how good you are. It just makes the gun look different. If I had a different suit on, that would be my different skin. Okay, it doesn't change what I do up here. It's just what the outfit looks like. And so with that, you can now play with that in the game. If you notice, there's different colors associated with different skins. Now, that yellow item on the very corner is a very rare item. There's about a 0.4% chance for someone to open up this crate, this loot box, and get that item. Now, there's real value within the gaming community in that. You can spend thousands of dollars on some of these rare skins. And now, it's a very similar experience to this. Okay, it's a gambling component. It's a slot machine component, okay? So it's something that anyone can have access to. Anyone who's able to play this game can acquire a loot box either by playing the game enough or by buying it with real money. And so this is just, I give you this for some food for conversation with your kiddo. What do you like about the game? Do you like to play the competitive CSGO where you're trying to eliminate your team and work together? Or do you like to open loot boxes? If you like to open loot boxes, that's fine. Can be okay. It's open for a conversation. It's open for a conversation of, okay, that's where all that money is going, or that's where all of your Christmas money or whatever is going, right? So this is something that is a good place for us to have a conversation on of what are we actually doing, what are we enjoying online. There are some regulations that I believe is going to be hopefully down the road of being able to put some legislation on this. So that's one area that finances can be a part of the gaming world. Another part is the streaming community. And so you can make money from the world of gaming. There are careers now just for gamers. This guy is named Ninja. He is a pro gamer. He plays Fortnite. He's 30 years old, 31 rather, and in 2019 he made 17 million bucks. And so what he does, a streamer is someone who plays a game live in front of other, or just on his computer. People can watch him while he plays. He's funny, he's good at the game, he's attractive. All these different things make people want to play with him or watch him. He's been asked to to play a game for like $50,000 an hour. A new game will come out, and companies will say, "Please play this game. We'll give you $50K, up an hour just to play this game." And it's advertising. Okay, so there's a lot of money within this, and so a lot of teenagers, in particular, are trying to make this their career path. I work with clients who say, "I want to do this. I want to stop after high school. I don't want to go to college, or I want to even drop out of high school and focus just on this. If I can just be the top % of this new game, I can make it. I can make it. Don't worry about it." And so there's a real desire for a lot of teens and young adults to be the next Ninja. What's interesting about Ninja, though, is he's seen gaming as coming second in his life. And so I'm going to show you a quick video clip about what I'm talking about. Looks like the audio is not working. Is there a way to get the audio? It was working earlier, friends. Sorry about that. Anything there? We can read it, but it's more powerful to hear it, to be honest. Let's see.
What if you put your mic?
Yeah.
I've got them all on, so I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. Well, it's okay. It's okay. So what we'll do is basically this video is, I'll go ahead and we'll switch back to this. But basically, this is a video that I can send to you if you'd like. Also, the whole PowerPoint slide you can take, I can send it to you if you'd like. But basically, this is a pro gamer. They ask him, what are you telling all the parents? What are you telling all the parents? I'm not sure what's happening with this thing. The parents who say, look, the kids want to play games.
If you hold it up like a rapper, it's supposed
Like this? Okay, like a rapper. Cool. This is going to be dope, friends. Okay. Cool. We'll do. We'll try it. Yeah. So basically, they ask him, "What are you telling all the parents? What are you telling all the parents where they want to just stop everything and play games for a living?" And he said, "I kept my job at Noodles & Company. I was going to school and I was completing all my responsibilities prior to just streaming and making it that way." He competed in Halo, and he slowly progressed to be able to get to the type of fame where he's able to make it as a profession. He did not stop everything and just do this. He says in the video, in the interview, you can't just stop everything and become a pro streamer and become a pro gamer. It's very competitive. There's so many people out there trying to do this. And this is pre-COVID. This is everyone sitting down in front of a computer doing nothing but maybe gaming, right? And so this was a lot of content there saying you can't just stop everything and do this. He was lucky enough to be able to make it as a professional gamer. A lot of people are not able to. A lot of people want to be pro athletes. They want to be on The Voice. They want to be the next Carrie Underwood. Not a lot are. Some can be, sure, but not a lot. And so that's where this is a really interesting, I think, role model of if potentially you could make it, but not all the time. And so it's good to be able to have just a backup plan and be able to say, you know what, I'm going to keep my responsibilities going, and maybe if this works, cool. If not, I'm going to keep going. All right, so now this is another place for us to see how big esports can be. This is in New York prior to the pandemic, where Ninja is talking to the crowd about a Fortnite World Championship that's happening there. So it's a big venue. A lot of people are interested in it, and this is just one aspect of the tech world. Esports in general is about 57 esports games out there. Of those 57 games, There's around 19,000 players just in the U.S., and their earnings are a little over $169 million. So there's a lot of money just within the U.S. This is also an international phenomenon. A lot of people overseas really enjoy gaming, and they're really good at it, and so it's a lot of competition just internationally. Dota 2 is a game that's a 5 versus 5 competitive game, a little different than Counter-Strike Go, but a very competitive game. And this was their world championship for last year, $40 million for a world championship. And so this is one tournament of one game that happened one time a year. And so again, this kind of reinforces there's a lot of interest in a lot of different games that people can say, or kids and adults can say, I want to be able to make this a profession, I want to do this and only this, because there's a lot of money in it. And so it's good for us to have to be open to some of these conversations with our kids, but also to be able to direct them in an intentional way for health and balance for the rest of their lives. All right, so a couple ways to pursue healthy gaming is if there is a problem, if someone is playing too much and objectively is causing problems, then take a break. The first thing is it's okay to take at least a 60 to 90-day break from this activity. That way it gives you opportunities to enjoy other things and be able to pursue other interests. And then it's good, as a general rule, to game after all of your responsibilities. Make sure it just starts to get into the habit of all these activities can be done first and then game. And then it's good to find mastery in real life, or IRL. A lot of clients I work with do not find like they are either competent in something in school, or they feel like they're not really good socially, and so they try to find mastery in a game to feel good about themselves. And so if you're able to take a break from games for a little bit, then try to engage and find mastery in other things. It's really good to prioritize your health, your physical health, with exercise, sleep, and good nutrition. Those are really good ways to keep you safe online. It's good to implement protective factors. Basically what this is, it's an idea to help you stay into a system that's going to keep you safe. If someone's engaged in school, if someone really likes their major, let's say, if they're in college and like their major, then they're going to be more likely to stay engaged in school. If they like their social group, if they like being in school and they like hanging out with friends and they want to spend time with them, they're going to be more engaged and protected by staying in that social group than playing a lot online. And so it's good to be able to find healthy protective systems that's going to keep them at a safe, positive place. A way to do that is filling out this sheet. This is a form that I filled out and created from my training, and it helps my clients and helps people I work with find balance in their lives. And it follows the idea of the wheel of life. Okay, so in the wheel of life, it's good to be able to have different activities, peer relationships, nutrition, exercise, sleep and hygiene. If it's a kid, parental relationships. If it's for an adult, romantic relationships, education or work, and then mental health. And when you look at the outside area where it's green, in a perfect world, if you're able to see what is healthy and balanced in these areas, then that can help you stay safe. Let's say, for example, the kid really likes, kind of is interested in soccer, and so they play soccer, they're doing chess, they enjoy chess, and so they're part of the chess club, and maybe they enjoy debate. There's a couple different activities that they really enjoy, and if they do that, if they do those things, and they stay involved in those activities, well, there's no room for problematic or disordered gaming. If they're really engaged with their sleep and hygiene, if they're getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night, they're not going to stay up all night gaming because they prioritize, really enjoy that, and they're going to continue to do that. And so when these areas are good, then there's no room for disordered gaming to happen. This can also be following the idea of social media. If social media is a problem, or if any online activity is a problem, what we do is we think about what in that disorder, that red area, what are the symptoms? What does it look like where this is a really big problem? And we fill out what those specific symptoms are, and then we go out to the outside categories and fill those out of what it looks like to be healthy and balanced. So this is a really good tool that I would encourage you to kind of think about with your kiddos of how can my kids be balanced in different areas. Now, a lot of times parents can ask, well, my kid just wants to play games. There's nothing else that they'll like to do. They say, well, if I don't play games, there's literally nothing in the world to do. I've checked twice. There's nothing to do at all. And so what we can do is we can find what they like about the game itself and transferable motivations. Basically, let's take a game like Minecraft. Does anyone know about Minecraft or have kids who play Minecraft? Okay, a very popular game that is around building, could be around creating, problem solving, and making something new out of complex things. So take those things that are inherently good and positive and move them towards something like robotics, something that's going to be able to give them another outlet to create and to build and to problem solve and do some really complex thinking that maybe is going to add more value to them over time. Another game we've talked about before is Valorant. It's a very fast-paced, competitive game. If someone is an achiever, someone loves to compete and to win and to get better and to get better and better, take those things that are positive, right? Striving for something that's good, striving for something and getting better, and even starting off not so great, but getting better, competing even, winning money. Something could be similar is rock climbing as one example. There are a lot of other team sports you can get involved in. Rock climbing has an element of risk. If you play a competitive game, there are elements of risk in the game, because if you don't do well, you may die and you'll lose the match. And so there's always a level of progression that can happen as well. You can start off rock climbing and not be very good, but the more you do it, the better you'll get, the more that you will progress. And so there's some similarities with these. In any game that your child plays, find what naturally draws them into it and move that towards something else if you need to be able to pause your games and take a break from it. Now, after the 90 days, it's okay to have a dialogue with your child. If you think that they want to be able to engage with it, if you think they're okay to engage with it, we need to be able to have good boundaries around it, but there could be some opportunities to engage with it if we have a different dynamic with it. Now, we're going to be moving towards social media, just kind of understanding a little bit of social media challenges and how to respond to that. In general, social media follows this type of model. It's a hook model. Basically, there's a trigger that starts off everything. We get a notification, we get a ding on our phone. It's like, oh, what's that? And that leads us to open up the app of choice, whatever it may be, and we look at the notification. And there's then some type of reward. When we go on Instagram, we don't always get a like or a comment, but sometimes we do. And those sometimes is really, really desirable. It feels really good. And whenever we go on and do something, we don't always get that reward, but sometimes we do. That's very addicting. That's a very addicting quality. Gambling, that's the element of gambling. You're not going to always get a reward, but sometimes you will. It makes you want to come back for more. And then there's some type of investment, meaning then you'll comment back. Then you'll say something else. You'll be able to engage in the app. That's the engagement piece. That's the investment piece. You'll put the app away, you go about your day. And then there's another ding, there's another notification, there's a trigger that starts the whole cycle again. This is, in general, what social media kind of is around, of how to keep you staying on their platforms. So a way to respond to that, a way to escape their hook model, is just to be aware that it's happening. Be aware that, okay, instead of getting all these notifications, it's good to be able to stop all notifications and just put it aside. It's good to also manage the triggers. If we know that we're triggered, not just with the ding, but we're done with work, or it's lunchtime, or you know what, I'm with my certain friends and I'm wondering how I'm doing online, right? We can manage also some of these internal feelings that's happening as well. It's good to create friction. What that means is, instead of having it so readily available, let's say your device is right there next to you. If your kids have their devices right there next to them all the time, if we're able to have some type of password or something, or it's physically across the room, they have to be able to walk to get the device, and that's going to be creating friction or time or space to be able to then look at the app. Even as adults, we give ourselves, okay, let me just count to 3 real quick if I really want to check this notification or check my social media status, and then after that, okay, yes or no. You're able to create that friction just with time. You can also get to where you inverse the variable rewards. These two platforms, Pocket Points and Forest, gamify and reward you from being away from your device. Pocket Points will give you rewards such as like a Chick-fil-A gift card or a Chick-fil-A sandwich for being away from your device. Forest is a game where you turn it on and you put your phone down and a forest grows. It gamifies being away from your device. And so if your child is really motivated by games and it's like, okay, cool, let's see how advanced you can get or how far you can get in this game by being away from your device. If you pick up the phone too early, the forest dies. It's not as cool as it would be if you keep it there for another hour or two. You can also use the Freedom software. If you go to freedom.to, You'll see a green background with a little yellow butterfly, or I'm sorry, a white butterfly. It's really cool. What it does is during certain times that you allot, it will block all content from all devices. If you sync it up to your phone, to your computer, to your laptop, from let's say 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 p.m. when really your student needs to study or do their chores, then you can block all this content where they're not allowed to get on any device. It says, sorry, you are free from social media, you're free from YouTube. And so it gives you a really annoying message that your kids won't like. But it's something that also protects them where they're able to engage in other activities. The creator of this was having a hard time staying focused whenever he was online. He was a computer programmer, and so he had a hard time staying connected to his work or opening up multiple tabs. So he created this for himself to help him stay focused when he needed to stay focused. And so it also, though, helps us as adults or parents or kids. I've told this to high schoolers. This can be a great way to help you stay more focused online, or even if social media is creating that problem for you. Now, there's a good bit of social media research out there. If anyone has seen The Social Dilemma, I mean, that's a pretty popular Netflix show that's out there. It really is a doomsday perspective on social media. This is a meta-analysis research that covers a lot of different content, a lot of different, basically every research article to date, 2020, about social media, the effects of social media, what it does. And so this is really interesting stuff. The first thing is they found there's a small negative mental health effect from social media use. Okay, so objectively there's a small negative impact that they found with all their research of social media. They also found that intense social media use can actually increase social capital and social support. So what that means is if you actually use the app for what it's intended for, to really connect and not just scroll to see what someone's doing on spring break, it can really have good effects, good intent. If you really engage with the app. If you just scroll, it's not going to be helpful at all. They found that appearance-focused content can lead to body image disturbance. So there can be some issues whenever we focus just on the images, just on the picture-perfect images we see. It can cause some body image disturbance for the user. They found that there's no association between social media use and life satisfaction or loneliness. This is a big one. This is a big one, friends, and this is very controversial. Again, from the research, they found that there's no direct connection. Now, if someone is feeling depressed and they go onto social media, there is some evidence saying that it could exacerbate those feelings. If you already are feeling nervous and insecure about yourself and you go on social media, they say that that can increase, that feeling can increase. But saying that there's a direct association, they did not find that in the research. They found there's no moderating effects of age and gender, but culture and personality did. So basically what that means is culture and personality did impact mental health and social media use, but they did not find age or gender had any impact on that. So from all these, some big pieces is there's no clear evidence that social media use can cause mental health issues. Again, be the direct only impacting piece. There's a lot of other pieces that direct mental health. There's an increased social media use can exacerbate mental health challenges. That is a really big piece that we should be mindful of. They did find some evidence that mental health challenges can impact social media use. So again, if we are feeling really insecure or depressed or anxious, then our social media use can increase. It does not mean that we are becoming depressed because of this one platform. Okay, so within that, here are some tips around social media use. It's really good to try to avoid all comparisons, because in general, comparisons can lead to really not so healthy perspectives of ourselves, so avoid all those comparisons. It's good to talk about image-based platforms. Talk about what a healthy body is and how your kiddo is healthy or could make some improvements based on what their pediatrician has said. It's good to talk about objectively what image-based platforms are doing. It's good to have a device-free bedtime. A lot of times we use social media right before we go to bed. Our kids want to stay connected as much as possible. And so it's really good to get into the habit of keeping social media just away from our bedtime routine. It really impairs sleep, and it can be a big issue around getting up in the morning. It's good to monitor mental health as a precursor. So again, if their kiddo is feeling sad or they're feeling rejected or lonely, it's really natural for someone to feel rejected, especially a teenager, to want to find connection somewhere. If they don't find connection in person, they're going to probably find it online. And so social media is a place to find that or try to find that. It's good to be an active social media user. Again, if we're just scrolling, it's not going to be very good for us. But if we engage with the platform, we can increase our social capital, increase our social supports, and we can actually improve our health from that dynamic. It's good to be aware of our time on social media too. If we're spending just a lot of time on this, that could have an impact on us as well. Okay, so in general, there is sexual content online in the form of pornography, in the form of video games. Social media has sexual content, and also sexting can be a big issue for parents. It can be an issue for their kiddo. It can be a big issue for legal ramifications. Their peer relationships can also become problematic. I've worked with clients who they have had legal ramifications, legal issues because of sexting going on. And so if it's a minor, obviously it can be a really big issue. Just in general, this is a really big problem that can be out there. It's good to have boundaries. It's good to have good conversations on what boundaries are. This is one way to have a boundary online, is through Discord. Discord is a very popular social platform for teens to connect and talk. And so there are some parental boundaries that you can set in place. This is an example of a screenshot of what that looks like. So in general, it's good to be able to just have these conversations with your kiddo. For one, to have it, to have with yourself and or your spouse to know what you're comfortable with as regarding sexual content. What type of sexual exploration are you comfortable with? Are you not comfortable with, and why? And then express that to your kiddo. They're going to define probably sexual content online at some time in their life. Right now, it's very easy for someone to find whatever they want online. And so it's really good for us as parents to set that role model and to be able to talk with them about what is healthy and why it's healthy, or what's appropriate or inappropriate based on what our value system is. Okay, now when we kind of zoom out a little bit, these are some specifics of gaming, social media, online content, but in general, we need to be able to kind of see how screen use can impact us and ways to kind of help us understand and explain to our kids. And the one way to think about it is screen use is like food, okay? We can eat cheeseburgers or Whataburger every day if we had the money and if we had that type of time. It would be very unhealthy for us. It'd be very unhealthy for us. We'd have a lot of problems from eating unhealthy food. If we eat vegetables, if we eat fruits, if we have a well-balanced meal, we will have good health benefits from it. And screen use is similar to that. We could watch entertaining screen use and fun screen use all day long, all the time, but it would be causing us problems. If we use it intentionally, and if we have some time for work, some time for play, some time for social, some time to relax, then it can be a healthy, well-balanced way to engage with screens. It's all about how we engage with it and what we do with our time. In general, when you look at a healthy, well-balanced person, in general, for an adult, most of our day is around work, some type of work, either out in the workforce, at home, some type of work. There should be some type of play, some type of recreation, some time to recharge. And we look for kids, right? A lot of times they need to play. Kids need play, friends. They also need to work. They also need to socialize. They also need to be able to have some time to be able to unwind or kind of unpack their day if they're a teenager, for sure. And so it's all about this balance, and food is kind of a good way to help explain that. So it's good to be able to have balance in a couple different ways. One, after responsibilities, when learning new things or connecting with friends. It's good to not use screens whenever it's during homework, with meals, with friends, or with others, at bedtime, and with your in person. Has anyone heard the term phubbing, right, by chance? P-H-U-B, no. This is a term I'd never heard of either, but it was with my training. And basically, phubbing is when you're talking with someone in person and you're on your phone, you're on your device. And so it feels rude, it feels disrespected, you feel like I'm not really valued right now in this time. And so it's not a really good way to interact. And so just don't phub each other and things will be really good. So this is some other ways to stay balanced whenever you're looking online. Sleep, exercise, and nutrition are really three big pieces, friends. If a lot of the clients I work with, I may have said this before, but sleep is a really big piece that is impacted when screens are not at a healthy, well-balanced place. And so if we really prioritize these three areas, our teens can be at a healthy, well-balanced place around screen use. This is another way to find balance. This was on the American Academy of Pediatrics. However, they've taken it down for a reason I'm unaware of. I've asked and emailed them. They have not responded with a good answer. They just said it's off. Yes, it's off. It's not helping anyone because it's off. This is basically, though, an idea, friends, of take a 24-hour day of your child, of your teenager's day. What is it made up of? Hopefully 8 to 10 hours of sleep, some time doing schoolwork, some time doing homework, some time with friends, some time with family, some time for themselves, and at the very top, you can see how much screen time is left over. This can be entertaining screen time. This can be time for they want to be able to engage and explore for themselves. Now, a lot of screen use now within the school is around, you have to have screens for schoolwork, right? You have to be able to work on your devices. So that's different than entertaining and like this fun screen use that's on top here, right? If someone's like objectively working on a paper or working on math problems on their device, then that's different than playing a game or watching YouTube for fun. And so this can be just another good way to have conversations with your kiddo of let's map out your day, just objectively looking at times and what you have time for. It's good to play, it's good to relax, but how much time are we devoting to these things? All right, from problematic to healthy, there's a couple of different things we can do. One, it's good to have specific screen time or to stop the specific screen use activity. Again, if there's a problem, if you notice there's issues with your teenager or your young adult, or a middle schooler kind of struggling with screen use, stop that specific activity and then be able to engage in something else. It's good to redirect those strengths. Again, with those motivations, right, let's find ways to be able to redirect that to something else that's healthy. It's good to change the environment. A lot of times, there's this client I've worked with that it was really helpful to change the environment that they were in. The student was having a hard time with balancing school and their and play. And so if you have a specific area just devoted to schoolwork and then a specific area just devoted to play, to recreation, that can be a really good way to keep those things separate. If you have a device, keep the devices separate. If they have a gaming PC, have that gaming PC just be for games, and then have another PC or another device or Chromebook just for schoolwork. They have just one device, have two different accounts. There are ways to be able to separate work from play and work really hard, do what you can, and then disconnect into play. Or play hard, really enjoy it, and then disconnect and go to work. And so these are some ways to help staying balanced. It's good to create these protective factors as well. What we talked about before. It's good to improve relationships. These can be a really big area that teens need to have help with. And then also address any underlying issues. If there is anxiety, if there is depression, if there is social phobias or challenges, we need to help them talk through and work through these things. Specifically, there are some good treatments. Psychotherapy or counseling can be really good. It can be CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy. Motivational interviewing and acceptance and commitment therapy are three modalities that can be really good. It's good to have, if needed, a 12-step recovery program. ITAA, or Internet and Technology Addicts Anonymous, is a 12-step group that can really help with complete sobriety. Support groups are really good, being able to have teens in particular kind of around others that are struggling and kind of working through some hard things can be good. And it's good to have some type of inpatient facilities if needed. Restart is one that's in Seattle, Washington. And medications if needed. Opioid receptor antagonists are can be some of those medications. There are some resources also that's on my website. These are some courses I've made for parents and for teens who struggle with balanced gaming. The one on the left, the parent model, helps parents understand the gaming world, helps them understand how to have healthy, positive conversations with their teens around gaming. And then the one on the right for players, for the teens, it helps them engage with healthy, balanced gaming and helps improve their gaming with different ways of having a well-balanced life. I also have a summer program where we do 10 different activities over a 5-day period of equine therapy. We do paintball and axe throwing. We'll learn fly fishing. We'll catch some fish. We'll do some mindfulness and meditation and a walk. We'll build an actual gaming headset stand. You'll see here on the left, it's hard to see, but these kids actually made headset stands from a wood shop here in Richardson. They were actually learning how to cook, and so we go and learn how to cook and work out and exercise. And the last day, we take the kids to a video game museum here in Frisco. We take them to learn about the history of games, play some old school arcade games, and learn what Pac-Man is. They're able to really enjoy the history of games, but also see that there's a balance. Also see that there can be joy and creativity and fun in other real-life IRL activities. I have some openings for this coming summer. If anyone's interested, we can talk more later, but there's going to be a summer program for teenagers and for young adults. So these are some resources also, friends. Like I said, this PowerPoint has the hyperlinks already embedded, so I'd be happy to send it to Angie, if possible, to send it out to everybody, whoever would like these hyperlinks, but there are some good resources to check out. Geek Therapeutics is a resource actually based in Fort Worth, where it has really good resources for geek culture, D&D, and kind of gaming, and kind of helping people understand some health benefits around geek culture. Common Sense Media is a really good platform to help parents understand kind of the, what their different movies or games and kind of different titles that come out, how age appropriate it is, and what parents are saying around around media content. ITAA is, again, Internet and Technology Addicts Anonymous. The other counselor that's in my practice, Daniel Eccles, he is a part of that group, and he helps run this 12-step group for people struggling with internet addiction. Fight the New Drug is around pornography and helping kind of work through some of those struggles. Family Media Plan is another resource that the American Academy of Pediatrics has that talks about guidelines and kind of a healthy contract that you can have and set up with your kiddo to be able to have a good interaction with screens. And then Powered Up Course is what we just talked about. The Healthy Gamer is a really cool resource, healthygamer.gg. He's a psychiatrist that's on Twitch, which is a streaming platform online. And he talks about just healthy gaming. He really has a pretty big following, and he really is an advocate for healthy gaming. Restart also, and then the escaping.com experience. So that's basically all of what the presentation side of things are. There are a lot of questions that I hopefully can answer tonight, and there's a lot of questions that you already, I think, had asked previously, so we can go through those. We can go through any other discussions or any other questions that have come up. I'd be happy to answer any of those. Seems like a very formal thing with obviously these chairs and stuff, but I'd love to be able to get some back and forth if there are any questions that you have that from what you've seen, any questions you had even prior to coming into tonight. So, with that being said, again, we can just jump into the questions that are posted or that were requested. So the first one is asking about what are some good colleges for gaming focus. Their child is a gaming enthusiast, and how can they build on that? So I think a couple different ways is there's game design, and then there's esports. And so if you're wanting to go to a school for design, SMU has a program. The University of Southern California has a program, and then the New York University looks like has a good program as well. A lot of other colleges have other programs, but these seem to be really good and reputable ones from my research. For esports, Miami University, the University of Chicago, Maryville University, and then the University of Dallas also has a pretty good esports program. It's interesting because Dallas has a couple of, I believe at least one esports team, and Mark Cuban owns an esports team, so there's more and more stuff coming out and interest coming out around that area. All right, so as far as discussing, settings for technology and devices, what are recommended. In general, it's good to, if you can, turn off all notifications. If you can turn off all notifications from an actual company like Facebook or Twitter or TikTok, turn off all those notifications. It's good to get notifications from an actual person. So if someone's trying to text you or get a hold of you, someone's trying to text you through Snapchat, that's okay if it's from an actual person. But if it's from a device or from a company, it's good to turn those off. There's a couple of questions around what are some good, like different platforms or apps for parental monitoring. And so we talked about a few, but Net Nanny is also a really good one. Bark is another good one. Bark.us is also one that can help with parental controls and that can help with being able to set up parameters and boundaries so your kids don't get online when they shouldn't or look at inappropriate content.